Order of the Wicked, Chapter 6. "What is their deal?" she asked Melinda one night after dinner. "Whose deal?" Melinda asked, distracted. Knox had been noticeably absent from the dining hall. Melinda had ignored the empty seat at the table, but the melancholy note was back in her voice, and she had been a million miles away all through their meal. "Holly and Larkin. Why do they hate me?" Even though Lonadel had been improving in her training in the last few weeks, they continued to treat her as if she was completely incompetent. "Oh, them," Melinda said with a snort. "You can't take them personally. I think they hate everyone, to be honest." "They don't hate you," Lonadel pointed out. "Sure they do. They're just scared of me," Melinda said. "Oh." Melinda realized she'd hurt Lonadel's feelings and softened. "Sorry, I didn't mean it to come out like that. I've kicked both their asses more than once in training, and they know if they mess with me, I'll beat the crap out of them somewhere Knox and Mombi can't find us. That was your only mistake, doing it in front of Mombi. She doesn't go for us fighting amongst ourselves, even if it's impossible to resist half the time. Holly was trying to get you to hit her in front of the grown-ups," Melinda added with a laugh. "She thinks getting people in trouble is fun, and Larkin's her little lapdog, but don't mind them really. They're just, well, they're orphans too, you know. But if you're a brat before your parents die, losing your family doesn't necessarily turn you into a ray of sunshine. Larkin was studying to be some kind of fancy-pants warlock and thinks his Lorraine's gift to the universe. Holly's family was some kind of munchkin royalty." Lonadel remembered what Holly had said in the training cave, right before Lonadel had almost succeeded in beating the crap out of her. That was a happy memory. "I didn't know the Munchkins had royalty." "They have dynasties or something," Melinda said, waving a hand. "Important bloodlines. Whatever, she thinks she's important. It was a shock for both of them to turn up here and realize they had to learn just like everyone else, and fight next to dirty commoners like us." She snorted. They tried all that stuff with me, too. Knox doesn't even notice. His head's so far up his—" She stopped short. "Is something going on with you and Knox?" Melinda rolled her eyes. "There is no me and Knox. He's a selfish little toad, that's all. I'm totally done with him." But for the first time since Lonadel had met the wiry, irrepressible warrior, something in Melinda's voice rang false, and her eyes were sad. She cared about Knox, Lonadel realized. Cared a lot. But she didn't want anyone to see it. She'd built her whole image around being tough and impossible to defeat. It was like everyone in the Order had created another personality that could protect them from the world they had to live in. Gert's overbearing sweetness, Glamora's illusions, Mombi's gruff bossiness, Knox's remoteness, Holly and Larkin's meanness, and Melinda's tough chick bravado, and Lonadel herself was just using her anger and her pain to build up walls no one else could climb. But how much was it costing them all to keep fighting all the time, not just Dorothy but their own natures? What if they all done such a good job of inventing new people to be, they'd completely forgotten who they really are? Melinda was in love with Knox. It was obvious. But it wasn't clear if Knox returned the feelings. Not that that was her problem, but Melinda was the closest thing she'd ever had to a friend. Melinda was her friend, and it was hard to watch such a strong, capable, and beautiful warrior made to feel small because of a guy. Especially a guy like Knox. That night, Lonadel tossed and turned in her narrow bed, trying to process everything. After a while, she gave up trying to sleep. There was no point. She lay awake until the familiar little winged image of Gert roused her for another day of training, her thoughts still a muddled mess. Now that Mombi and Knox had decided she was capable of learning magic, her training got even more intense. But she loved her magic lessons, not just because more often than not, Mombi whisked her away again to Sky Island, but because Melinda often trained with her, and she learned much more from Melinda than she did with Mombi. It was Melinda who taught her how to summon up a fireball big enough to blow the dilapidated old Sky Island hotel to smithereens, and then put it back together, piece by piece, so that it was even stronger than before, while Mombi clucked in approval. Drinking lemonade from Sky Island's sparkling river, closing her eyes in the hot sun for a long training session, with Melinda laughing next to her. For just a second, she could pretend this was all there was in the world, and that she was happy, and then Mombi would yell at them to get up again, dragging her back to reality. The old witch was relentless, and so was Knox. It was as if they were pushing her towards something. One night she almost found out what it was. She was walking a route she didn't usually take back to her sleeping chamber and heard Knox's voice echoing from an unused training cave. "Can't possibly think she was ready," he was saying, her senses spiking to alert. She pressed herself against the tunnel wall, straining to hear more. "We don't have the luxury of waiting until she's ready." It was Mombi he was talking to. It was Gert, the sweet grandmotherly old witch, but now her voice was hard as stone. "Do you have actual information to act on, or is this just some wild hunch?" Knox sounded impatient, almost angry. Somehow Lonadel knew they were talking about her, and if they were, he was trying to protect her. Knox? Protect her? "There were reports before Dorothy returned," Gert said. "He's wanted Oz for centuries. It's the perfect time for him to strike." "He can't come to Oz," Knox said. "He?" Lonadel wondered. Who were they talking about? The wizard? But that didn't make sense. The wizard had already been to Oz. "We don't think he can come back to Oz," Gert corrected. "But we don't know anything about how powerful he is now. We need an agent. The girl is perfect. You've seen the way she hides what she's feeling. She'll make a good liar, and that's what we need. She doesn't even know her own true self, and that makes her unreadable, like someone else I know," Gert added, and Knox snorted. "We don't have time to coddle people, Knox. This is a war." "So you keep saying," Knox said quietly. "I don't agree with this, Gert. I won't support you." "You don't have a choice." Gert's voice was sharp. "About this, or about Melindra." "Melindra can make her own decisions," Knox said. "But not if she doesn't know what's going on. You can't protect her, Knox. Just because you have feelings for her." "I'm not trying to protect her," Knox exploded. "I'm trying to tell you to stop lying to these girls." "We're not lying, and you know it," Gert said. "We give people the information they need when they need it." "When will I need all the information, Gert? When are you going to tell me the rest of what's going on here?" "That's enough, Knox. Go to sleep. You'll have to." But Lonadel didn't wait to hear the rest of the sentence. She heard a rustle as Knox turned to leave the cavern, and she ducked down the corridor before Knox found her eavesdropping. But she knew what she just heard was something huge. What decision did Melindra have to make? And as for Lonadel, where were they sending her?